Let's see if we can get through this. Let's see. That's off. That's off. That's on. That appears to be live. My finger will not stop bleeding. Oh well. Worst things have happened. Let's go. Hello! Shadowcat back with more Babylon 5. Yes, we're doing this. I am so excited for today because today we get to get into one of my favorite ships. No, not one of my favorite ships. It is my favorite ship. In, like, all of Sci-Fi. Which makes me extremely, awkward because everyone's like, well, what's your favorite, what's your favorite spaceship? I like the X-Wing. I like the Enterprise. I like Battlestar Galactica. My favorite is the Omega-class destroyer. And everybody looks and says, what the hell is that? And then I just have to kind of go stand off in the corner with the people who just aren't liked. So, that's what we're doing today. Before we get into that, though, of course, if this is your first time here and you're already interested in what we're doing here, then subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you get notified every time these videos come out. If you know somebody else who's also into Babylon 5 or Starfinder and you think they might enjoy this, then share it with them. Otherwise, though, if you like me, like what I'm doing, leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below. If you're going to leave a comment down below, though, might I suggest going just one step further? Go ahead and join our Discord. We have one. There's a link down there somewhere. And when you join the Discord, go to the Behind the Screen channel. Go there, let me know what kind of games that you want to play, and what your availability is. As soon as I can put together enough people for one game, we'll start. And, my games are good, so you should really come and give it a try. Anyway, I see that I already have people in the chat. I see that Blizz is here. Hello, Blizz. Good to see you. I see that JP is in the chat. Hello, JP. Good to see you too. JP says your badge changed 2 years. Has it really been 2 years already? That's a lot. That's 2 years since I got monetized. That means that it's been more than 2 years that I've been doing this. Well, yeah, no, that makes sense. We spent pretty much an entire year working on Warhammer 40k alone. No, not pretty much a whole year. It took us 14 months, I think, to do Warhammer 40k. That was a big one. Not done yet either. I still have so much work to do on that one. See, we did all the playable races. We did the... Well, we didn't do Astartes because we decided they're just too overpowered. They had to be window dressing. We did the Imperial Guard, and we did all their armaments, and we did all their vehicles, and all their technology. We did the Mechanicus, as well as all of their technology and all of their vehicles. We did the Tau, all 5 of the different sects. So that's fire, earth, air, and water, as well as the Ethereals, as well as their enormous list of tech, and their an even more enormous list of all their vehicles, which was, land and air. Then we did the Eldari, as well as all of their technology and their vehicles. However, what didn't we do? Well, I didn't do orcs because they're not playable. Orcs exist for only one purpose, and that is to fulfill the war. So, you can't play as an orc. We didn't do Necrons. We didn't do Tyranids because they're all baddies. Necrons... You could make an argument for a cooperative Necron, but it would have to be a really, really good argument. The Necron aren't, evil. They're just antisocial. And who can blame them? I mean, you basically give your life over to your gods and then get turned into immortal, living, metal body things and then told to go fight a war forever. Yeah, that would make anybody antisocial. So yeah, there's still a lot of stuff to do in that module, but that's all, GM side. That's me. Which is why we didn't cover it in the stream. So, anyway, getting back to Babylon 5 then, let's go ahead and pull up everything, go over what we did last time real quick. Because I want to get into making more ships today, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun today. So, we're going to need to have, of course, our browser. We're going to need to have our spreadsheet, and we'll go over the spreadsheet real quick before we start on anything else. So, the last time we were here, we did these two. We did the Hyperion and we did the Olympus, in that order. And it kind of had to be in that order because the Olympus really gave us nothing to work with. There was almost no data on it at all. In fact, I do wonder if I come back to here. I do have this other auxiliary site, and this is the B5 Tech Manual. This was actually an actual book that came out. And this is kind of a preview of what we're going to be doing later. But if I go back for a moment and look at the Olympus-class Corvette, it does give us a little bit more information. Not much. This just says it has 4 pulse cannons, 2 twin particle beams, 2 long-range railguns, 4 missile racks, 20 each. I mean, that's good. In fact, that's probably better than what we had last time. If I went back and looked at the list of ships over here... Go away. The Olympus-class Corvette that we were working from here just said weapons unknown. Well, apparently they are known. So, 4 pulse cannons, 2 twin particle beams, 2 long-range railguns, 4 missile racks. On a large frame. I believe... Hold on a second. If I remember this correctly, tiny and medium ship... Or, no, tiny and small ships are only allowed to have 1 weapon per facing. Okay? 1 weapon per facing. Medium and large are allowed to have 2 weapons per facing. Huge and gargantuan are allowed to have 3 weapons per facing. And colossal is allowed to have 4 weapons per facing. If I remember the rules correctly. And I mean, this is kind of the thing that I do, so I'm pretty sure I remember correctly. Which means that, could we put this accurately on a, could we put this accurately on a large hull? Well, a large hull is going to have forward, port, starboard, and aft facings, as well as a turret. If I can put 2 weapons per mount, that's 10. And let's see. Looking at this, we got 4 pulse cannons, that's 4. Twin particle beams is 6. Long-range railguns is 8. 4 missile racks is 12. So, no, we couldn't do that exactly. But we could probably do that. It wouldn't be that much of an upgrade. The real thing is, like, where would we change things? What would we do? Do we even want to? Actually, I don't think I really want to. The reason why is because I'm kind of happy with the Corvette the way it is. If I were to do this, it would really, really push the tier of the ship way up from where it is now. And I don't really want to do that because right now the Olympus is exactly half the size of a Hyperion, which is accurate to the dimensions of the ship, and so having it being numerically half, I think is good. Anyway, so we're not going to change it, even though we did have a little bit more information. Maybe we'll use the tech manual a little bit more, though, just going forward. The Olympus, it's a large destroyer frame. There's nothing terribly special about it, and that is by design. The way that I'm the guardrail that I'm using for this is that the military is not going to buy anything that is either subpar or top shelf, which is why I'm making sure that the engines they're getting are nothing special. They're good, they work, it's the best they can get without getting into, like, performance. For example, this is an L8 thruster. That is not the fastest thruster. However, an L10 thruster is going to come with a -1 pilot bonus. Now, that means that it's going to be very fast, also it makes the ship harder to turn. The military, they wouldn't do that. At least I don't think they would. So, that's why we're going that way. Being a tier 5, it did have a health bonus, so we've got that plugged in already. An Arcus Maximum, I do believe, my running theory so far is that it's going to be about 200 PCU to jump to hyperspace, which means that this would be a jump-capable ship. And let's see, JP says nothing special till President Clark starts juicing them up. Okay, we're not going to talk about that one because we're not doing those. If I have to do that, okay, if I have to go through and make the advanced destroyers, I can promise you one thing. They will be a complete secret. You will not know what is on them until you come face to face with them. Just like what happened in the show. I'm going to build an Omega today. We are not building that Omega today. And if you were to ever come across one in the actual game, I would hope that your reaction in the game will be the same reaction that people had in the show. Because I would make it absolutely worth it. Alright, so we don't need this. We're going to go back. And we're going to take one last look at our ships. I use just the basic weapons for the Olympus. Just because, you know, everything seems to be plasma in some way anyway. These pulse discharge cannons, these are plasma pulses. It seems like everything in Babylon 5 runs off of plasma. Which is fine. I can work with plasma. And I mean, just going over these, obviously, everything for the Hyperion is listed, so I use the actual names. That's a huge cruiser. Again, the engines are nothing special. Phased particle cannons, pulse discharge cannons, all these things, and we even put conversions down here. So the pulse discharge cannons are going to be light plasma cannons. The 52mm pulse or plasma pulse cannon is going to be heavy laser nets, so they have point defense. The 40mm plasma pulse cannons will be light laser nets, also point defense. The particle beam, or the phased particle beam, is just going to be a particle beam, which is a heavy weapon, and the thermonuclear torpedoes are just heavy nuclear missiles. Not much of a change there. Okay then, so moving on to the next. I'm going to copy this. Well, no, I'm not just going to copy that. I'm going to copy all of this. Paste it over here. And then we're going to delete these columns because we don't need it. And JP says, we know nukes. Yes, if nobody if nobody is in the B team game, you really should join us. Not only do we know nukes, we apparently use them a lot. Actually, that's not true. We don't use them nearly as much as we joke about. But the fact of the matter is that war crimes are still being committed. So if you want to commit war crimes, come play with us. Alright, so starting off today, we are going to be starting with the Nova. So let me go ahead and pull up the stuff about the Nova class. And the reason why I'm starting with the Nova class is because, chronologically, the Omega was the descendant of the Nova, and so it's the place to start. That, and we actually do have information on it. So, this is a Nova. It's a tiny picture, but, I mean, yeah, there we go. And it looks, like I said, over here, we're making jokes. We're making jokes. Blizz says, nukes make things warm. JP just says, it brightens up everyone's day. There's a reason why we call Japan the land of the rising sun. That's all I'm saying. Alright, so, the Nova class Dreadnought here, it says that sometimes referred to as a battleship, which is kind of weird because, like I said, there are actual, like, terms and things, and I made myself a cheat sheet. I did make myself a cheat sheet. Right here. So, there are categories underneath a Corvette. These are all of your blue water vessels. Okay? So, non-blue water vessels, you'll have things like patrol boats. And patrol boats are really there as more of a deterrence. Patrol boats are going to have some mounted weapons, but they're going to be literally just guns. Like, most of the weapons mounted on your patrol boats could be hand-fired. They're just mounted because it makes them more stable and they're kind of heavy. But patrol boats are not generally carrying anything that's going to ruin your day if you're bringing in any real hardware. They're there to make sure that people get the message, this is a border, you will not cross it. Which is when we then get into the actual blue water vessels, with the Corvettes being the example of, this is like the smallest boat that you could get, and then take it out to ocean. And even then, you still might want to be a little bit careful where you put it. Corvettes are not exactly big, but they are quick, they carry some decent weapons on them, and their entire idea is that you don't want to be here. Like, is a Corvette a threat? Not the biggest one. A Corvette could still sink your boat, but you'd kinda have to let it. The idea of a Corvette is that we're going to keep putting holes in you until you get the message. And those are like the smallest of the blue water boats. Then we've got frigates. The idea of a frigate is, you know what, we sent a Corvette after you, we put a few holes in your boat, you didn't get the idea. Now that you've changed your mind, yeah, we've decided that you're not going now. Okay? You have proven yourself that you are going to be a problem either now or in the future. You are going to the bottom of the ocean. And we're going to follow you until you do. The frigate is like the smallest one that has the ability to chase down most ships and just absolutely end them. Then you get destroyers. The idea of a destroyer is very simple. You FA'd, now you're gonna FO. Okay? You decided that you were going to pick a fight with our little flotilla here. The destroyer is going to punish you. The cruisers are pretty much just there for the explicit defense of whatever your asset is. Now, for most modern fleets, that asset's going to be a carrier. However, even battleships would have a screen of cruisers because you didn't want anything to get close to it. And JP says, you can't sink a ship in space, you just have to boom them. I mean, this is true. Anyway, the point is, though, that the Dreadnought is going to be the centerpiece of your flotilla. It's going to be primarily either a battleship or a carrier. I can't really think of what else it would possibly be. It's just what we've always used. I mean, I guess technically it could be some kind of big tanker or whatever, but it's a battleship or a carrier. So when they take this thing, they say it's the Nova class Dreadnought. Well, Dreadnought really puts it in that capital ship category. At the same time, though, that's not exactly how it was really used. I mean, it does say it's a battleship, so kinda, sorta, maybe, it's gonna be weird. Especially since I actually have a battleship frame. And a dreadnought frame. So if we come down here into frames, this is a dreadnought. It is a colossal ship. Okay, it has it has 4 forward mounts, 4 port side mounts, 4 starboard mounts, and 4 turrets. If I look directly above that, there's a battleship. The battleship is actually one size category smaller. And being that it is one size category smaller, oh, look at that, it also has less guns. So, only 3 on the 4, 3 on the port, 3 on the starboard, 1 turret, 3 turrets, and nothing aft. So, again, when we look at the Nova class, what is it? Is it a dreadnought? Is it a battleship? I don't know. We're just going to have to figure it out, because it can't be both. We're going to pick one frame or the other. I might use the battleship for this one, and then use the dreadnought for the Omega. However, and this is important, as far as I know, the Omega is not the largest ship that was ever built by humans, which means that we might have to share that slot. And we'll go ahead and look at this really close, because it's going to be kind of important. Which one would it be? I thought it was called a Victory class, but I could be wrong about that. Other races, fighter craft, no. Psycorps, Military Federation, no, that's not going to be it. I could be wrong. Not a Warlock, although I guess I should look. A Warlock, how big is a Warlock? So, it doesn't actually tell us here how big the Warlock is. I see PC's in. Hello, PC. Good to see you. And PC says, "It's Superman!" I don't know who Superman is. At least not in this context. Let's see. It does not actually give us a size on the Warlock, so I'm not sure what to make of that. I could probably check the tech manual, though. Show me the Warlock class. Crude, see, length. I'm assuming it's length, including that ridiculously large cannon on the front. Roughly 2 kilometers. Yeah, that actually does make it bigger than the Omega. But I really need to see the Victory class. Here we go, Victory class destroyer. How long are you? Okay, the length of the Victory class destroyer, and we will have to make one, is almost, like, 10 meters shy of 3 kilometers. So, putting that into context, let's just go ahead and make ourselves a list here. Okay, size categories. We've got the Nova, then there's the Omega. Warlock is the next biggest at about 2 kilometers long. And then we've got the Victory. And the Victory is going to be one of the biggest ships that we have in the setting. At least the biggest that I can make. The only things bigger than a Victory class, I think, would be the Charlene. Maybe. I'm not sure about that. And they're more tall than they are long. Or the planet destroyers. However, a planet killer is less of a ship and more of a mobile weapon. And it's more of a set piece than it is an actual ship. So I don't need to worry about those. If I look at the Charlene class cruiser, The overall length, 1,600 meters. But like I said, it's tall. So it's kind of hard to judge it. Alright, so if that's the case then, what are we going to do with these? I could, because we have the frames for it, if I wanted to give these unique frames, we have this Ultranaut. It is super colossal. It has 2 capital weapons, 2 heavy weapons, and 1 spinal mount on the front. Now that spinal mount? The Victory class cruiser does have a spinal weapon. We'll get to that later. This is showing 5 weapons on port, 5 weapons on starboard. Let's see, 1 capital, 3 turrets. I could easily bump that down and make that just 4 weapons on each. I don't know. We'll have to wait. Either way, Ultranaut seems to be the way to go for this. So, what if we did Ultranaut? The Warlock can be a Dreadnought. And if the Warlock is a Dreadnought, well, then I suppose that could turn the Omega into a battleship and the Nova into a carrier. Or would I want to do that backwards? No. This one costs 120, this one costs 150. So, yeah. Let's see. JP says, don't all Omegas have a spinal lance? No. No, they do not. They all have a forward laser, and we'll get to that. But they don't have a spinal weapon. And I guess since we're on the topic, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Base frames. No, we'll back up a little bit here. So, weapons. Weapons are going to come in one of 4 categories. The first is going to be the light weapons. And light weapons are exactly that. They're just light weapons. You can fit these on pretty much everything. It's not a big deal. Heavy weapons. Heavy weapons require a ship that is at least... Actually, hold on. I had this before. Refitting systems, upgrading systems, new weapon mounts. By spending BP... You can fit a new light weapon there. By spending 5, you can fit a new light weapon on a turret. Tiny and small starships can only have 2 weapons per turret or per arc. Medium and large can have 3. Oh, okay. I was actually wrong about this. Medium and large can have 3. Huge and larger ships can have 4. And that means that technically, if huge and larger can have 4 per mount, that explains why the super colossal could have 5. But like I said, we can always bump that down and make it a little bit more reasonable. Oh, but here we go. This is what I wanted. So by spending 5 build points, you can upgrade a heavy weapon to a mount. Yes. Heavy weapons can only be mounted on medium or larger starships. Capital weapons can only be mounted on huge and larger starships. And can't be mounted on, can't be mounted on that. Let's see. And JP says, show of hands, who would like to see Shadow do a watch-through with commentary? Okay, that would be ridiculously fun, and also absolutely impossible. There is no... I couldn't even get my live background through the copyright system on YouTube. I have no idea how I would do an actual live commentary. Not to mention, I'm not sure if I'm really the commentary type. I mean, I guess it'd be worth a try, but I'm not sure how I would do it. Still, though, if there's interest, I could look into it. Goodness knows I'd like to go back and watch the series again. Anyway, so we were talking about spinal weapons. So first off, you have to have a large enough ship that you can even put it on. And technically speaking, if we wanted to like follow these rules, It says heavy weapons can only be mounted on medium or larger starships. Capital weapons can only be mounted on huge and larger starships. So medium and large fit heavy weapons. Capital weapons go on huge and gargantuan, which then means that colossal would be your spinal mount weapons. So we got to have a colossal frame. If we come back here and we look at our colossal frames, that's going to be the Dreadnought. And of course, the Ultranaut. So that Warlock and the Victory. Now, when we're talking about that, the thing about these spinal weapons is that spinal mount weapons can only be mounted in the forward arc. They have to be pointed the same direction as the ship. The ship becomes the weapon. And when we look at things like the spinal mounts, let me find a good example here. So here we go, an Ultra Laser. The Ultra Laser does 6d4 times 10 damage. If I go to the capital weapons, I do believe we have a Super Laser. We do. So the Super Laser does 2d4 times 10 damage. That means that if you rolled a 1 on both of them, you're going to do 20 points of damage. If you rolled 4s on both of them, you're doing 80 points of damage. Okay? Now, to put this in perspective, 80 points of damage is more than my current players' nuclear weapons do. Now, my current players have light nuclear weapons. Heavy nuclear weapons would do more. But the point remains, they have one of the strongest weapons for a light mount. And this thing can do more than that just on average, with no limit. When we get into the spinal weapons, though, the Ultra Laser, 6d4 times 10. It is doing a minimum of 60 damage and a maximum of 240. And it does that in a line. So anything that's in front of, or in line with the first ship you hit is getting hit with it. So, there's that. I do believe that Ultranaut is going to fit our Victory class very easily. So, that still leaves us with what do we do with the other two ships, because we've got a battleship and a carrier. The thing is, and this is kind of the weird thing, the Nova is more of a battleship, the Omega is more of a carrier. If I come back here and look at the Nova class Dreadnought, it says that it has 22 twin particle cannons, 6 fusion beam guns, and 2 fusion missile launchers. Which I think is a little bit... Well, okay, no, it says fusion missiles, 2 launchers. You can't really see on this picture because it's half cut off, but the entire side panels on this ship are nothing but missile racks. And let's see, PC says maybe stream from Popcorn Palace. That still doesn't get around the whole YouTube thing. JP just says, do it. Okay, I am not weak of mind. Your force powers will not work on me. Alright, it also says that this, that the Nova class comes with 36 Star Furies. Let's compare that with the Omega. The Omega is actually a little bit longer. This is, or the Nova is 1,500 meters. The Omega is 1,700 meters. A little bit longer. Enough that the side or the frames might just be interchangeable. Because what's 200 meters, right? It has the same fighter complement, which means that they're both basically carriers. 6 heavy particle lasers, which, as I understand, 2 of those are pointed forwards and 4 are pointed backwards. Which, JP, you were talking about spinal weapons. Those are the spinal weapons you're thinking of. They're not necessarily spinal, they're just forward-facing and really big. 6 heavy pulse cannons, 12 particle beams and lasers, 12 pulse cannons. The pulse cannons, of course, are going to be our screens, and then 2 fusion missile launchers. Frankly, the only real difference between them is the Nova has these 22 twin plasma cannons, 6 particle beam guns. That is the same on the Omega. It has 6 heavy particle lasers. And then fusion missiles, we've got them. So, yeah, the only thing they traded was the pulse cannons for the plasma cannons. So let's go ahead and get to work. I'm thinking that I'll use the carrier frame for both of them just because of the sheer number of fighters that it has. Let's see. PC says, well, just thinking that if it's off kilter or something, it might not trigger. Then again, they just let the channel with Alchemist Prime's song that I sent die, so maybe not. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. I haven't seen it yet. Guess I'm not going to now. JP says, 200 meters makes a big difference, like our carriers versus our super carriers. 200 meters means more weapons and ammo. It allows them to stay on station and in the fight for longer. Okay, you are right about that. You are absolutely right about that. For my purposes, though, I don't really have to track things like logistics. At least not on that small of a scale. You are right that, 200 meters, that is a lot of supplies. That's a lot of fuel, that's a lot of food, that's a lot of ammunition. But all of that is already kind of abstracted. What I mean is that both the battleship and the carrier are classified as gargantuan. Now, when I come here to this page and we look at Starship Scale, this shows us the size categories for all of our ships. For gargantuan, it says a gargantuan ship is anything from 2,000 to 15,000 feet, which is just adorable. I mean, seriously, 15,000 feet. 15,000 feet is going to be 3,000 meters? Or no, it's 15,000 yards. A yard is, I believe, a little bit less, like a couple inches shorter than a meter. But they're close. Which is why I suppose that I could say that, like, a gargantuan ship is anything up to about 3 kilometers, give or take. But it covers everything in here. And so it's been abstracted, and both of these ships could be gargantuan carriers if I wanted them to be. Then again, let's look at what we need to do with it. So let's get into the actual spreadsheet. We'll get into the actual spreadsheet. And we'll determine what we have to use when we do it. So we're going to go right here, and we're just going to say that this is going to be the Nova, and this is going to be the Omega. Both of these are going to be human. Now, crew. I did fill in the crew, did I not? Yes, I did. So we'll make sure to fill this in on these. I'm going to go to the technical manual for this one. It says that the Nova has a crew of 250. The Omega has a crew of 850. Now, is that going to work with our base frames? The Carrier has a minimum crew of 75 and maximum crew of 200. The Battleship has a minimum crew of 100, maximum crew of 3. It'll work for both of them. Well, actually, no, it's not really going to work for the Omega because it's like way too many people. But I'll make it work. Maybe I just have an extra expansion base for, more barracks. Alright, so there's our crews. Now, size? The size is unquestionable. gargantuan. Now, as for the frame, here's the kicker. The carrier has 10 expansion bays, and we know that we need to have hangars for all of these fighters, and both of them carry 36. So, I believe, if I remember right, we could have... Where's hangar? I believe it was 8 interceptors per. A hangar bay can install, it holds 8. Okay. Unfortunately for me, that's going to make things a little bit difficult because 36 does not divide by 8. So, I could just go up to 40. I mean, who cares, like, if the hangar bay has a little bit of extra space? Maybe they need enough space for a few extra fighters so they can do maintenance, right? Okay, that's a lie. They can do maintenance, like, right there in the spot. But the point is that I could go up to 5 bays. 5 bays, though, would be, because these take 4 each, 4 times 5 is 20, which is double what the ship normally has. I can do this because it is actually possible to just bolt on extra expansion bays. I don't have to, but I can. So we're going to go carrier for both of them. We're going to go for carrier on both of them. It seems to be the best way to go because both of them act the same way, even if they're used in different ways. I mean, they're going to be more heavily armed than pretty much any carrier anyway, so it's fine. We can treat them a little bit differently. All right, so carriers. They have, by default, poor maneuverability. That is going to be a -1. It's okay, though. I mean, these things are, like, not going to be... They're not going to dodge fire. They're going to endure fire. PC says, make it bigger and name all of the stats Michael. I feel like there's an office joke there and I'm missing it. Let's see. This thing takes 3 hexes to turn. Wow. Alright, thruster speed. We'll get to that in a second. Armor, none yet. Armor class, though, is currently a 9. Now, you do get to add whoever's at the helm, their piloting bonus to the armor class, but with nobody sitting there, or I guess with just the computer handling things, like on autopilot, it's a 9. Damage threshold, though. Here we go. This is what's going to save it. The damage threshold is 10. Which means, yeah, it's easy to hit, but you gotta punch through 10 meters of armor before you even touch it. Oh, and PC says, name all of the hangar bays, Michael. Alright, fair, I'll give you that one. Except I'm not naming all of them, okay? We can have 1 Michael Bay. We can have 1 Old Bay. What else? I guess we can have 1 Thunder Bay. You guys can finish the rest of them, okay? I got things to do here. I got things to do. Let's see. It's got a critical threshold of 48. Good luck critting it. And see, again, this is one of those things where, like, I think things are going to work out really well. Because we're talking about an Omega class, a Nova and an Omega class carrier here. These are ships that we saw with great prominence in Babylon 5. We actually did see Star Furies and Thunderbolt Furies fighting against Omega classes. Now, does that mean that... we can fight these things? I think so. Let me get the HP filled in here. So it's 240. Uh, 240, 240, 240, 240. So that's 240. Now, let's go back to the Star Furies, because these Auroras were fighting with Omegas. Can these Auroras actually take them down? Let's remember that the Aurora Star Furies are going to be fighting in squadrons. So we're going to be talking about an overwhelming amount of firepower, even if it's not a lot of firepower. So each one of these Star Furies is going to be doing 2d12. That is an average of about 14, give or take. We take off the 10, and they're going to be doing a whole, like, 4 damage. We talked about this before. Even if they did maximum damage, though, 24 points, we take off that, that damage threshold of 10, they can't even get close to the critical threshold, which means that Star Furies will only ever be critting on a natural 20. Given the sheer amount of firepower, though, hitting that critical? Possible. It is possible. Could a pack of Star Furies actually take down an Omega? Very, very possible. Very possible. And so I really think this is going to work out well. Shields, obviously shields, not a thing. Same thing goes with the ablative armor. Ablative armor is not going to be standard. Jump engine. Yes, obviously. They have jump engines. Let's see. And in the chat, they're saying, let's see, Michael Bay, Old Bay, Thunder Bay, Bay of Pigs? I don't know about that one. Salt Bay, Chesapeake Bay. I was trying to stay away from, like, just naming them after actual bays, because that would be too easy. I just said Thunder Bay because I grew up in Michigan. Thunder Bay was, like, a big deal. Came to mind. Alright, so when it comes to the actual weapons, I don't know yet. I will say that I'm going to go ahead and just copy the computer and sensors from the Hyperion, because they make sense. As far as expansion space goes, both of them are going to have 10, but we're going to go way over those limits. Now, for the weapons. We're going to have to get a little intuitive here. So for the Nova class, I can't really scroll up any further. The important thing to note here is that it has 22 of these twin plasma cannons. They are mounted all over this thing like a porcupine. It has them on turrets. It has them on fixed points. It has them pointing forwards. It has them pointing backwards, and it has some on fixed mounts on the sides that can simply rotate to point sideways. It is covered in these plasma cannons. That is basically its only armament, aside from the missile launchers. It's got cannons and missiles. It does have the particle beams, technically. Here's what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is this. I'm not going to make them all capital weapons, I know that. Capital weapons on a dreadnought, on pretty much anything, you're not going to find usually more than 1 or 2 capital weapons on a ship. The Ultranaut is different, but then again, the Ultranaut comes from a supplementary material, and it's different. Starfinder, the original version, stopped at the Dreadnought. The base ship and the Ultranaut came later. It literally says it literally came from the Empire of Bones. But Dreadnought was the largest ship in the core rulebook. Which is why it's like not the only one. The battleship and carrier do both technically have one capital weapon each. The Dreadnought was special because it has multiple capital weapons, and even then just 2 forward and then 1 port and 1 starboard. It's what made the Dreadnought really scary. These, I could maybe give them a forward capital weapon just like this, but everything else will be heavy. In fact, I might go so far as to give it like 2 capital forward weapons. But that's the most that I could do. However, is it going to have like everything? Yes. It has the ability to mount 4 weapons in each slot, and we're going to do exactly that. So we're just going to go ahead and fill these in green. We're going to do the same thing over here and fill these in green, because this thing is just ludicrously strong. Capital. Wait, no, not there. Capital. And then for the Omega. The Omega has the big lasers. If we assume that the big lasers are capital weapons, I have to give it 6. Okay, I don't have to give it 6, but it does have lasers both forwards and backwards. I'm going to do that, actually. I'm going to put a capital weapon forward and a capital weapon aft. Now, why am I doing it this way? You have to look at this from the eyes of a designer, not just a model builder. There is no way that I can give these ships all of the weapons that is listed on their sheet. After all, the sheet that we're using has a total of 20 weapons on it. That's 4 for all 4 arcs, plus we have 4 for the turrets. And Blizz has to go. Well, I'm sorry to see you go. It was good having you here, though. So, I hope I'll see you back here next time, and until then, take care. So anyway, looking at this from a model builder, yes, the Nova class does have just an absolutely outstanding amount of guns on it. 22 of these twin plasma cannons before we even get into everything else. I can put those on the ship. I can also arbitrarily say that you can't fire all of them at once. I mean, there might be limits on the power core that say you cannot fire any more than so many of these at once. And that would actually make sense. That would be fair. The ship might be designed in such a way as to give it complete coverage, but you can't, fire all the weapons at one time. And so that would fall to the XO or whoever is over gunnery to make sure that not all of the guns are fired at once, or else you might brown out the system. So I can still abstract this, and if I were to simply say, you know what, every single one of these guns is on a double mount. And so what if I simply cut that in half and say, instead of it being 22 twins, well, it does say 22 twins. It's already kind of cut in half. Anyway, I can reduce the number. I'm allowed to reduce that number. 6 particle beam guns. I'm going to assume that the particle beams are going to be the forward fixed mounts. because that just kind of makes sense. It's probably got 2 forward and 4 back, just like the Omega has, because the Omega also has those. And if I come over here to the list of ships and look at the Omega class destroyer, it says here that it's an Earth Alliance warship manufactured, yes, it became the most powerful and ubiquitous capital ship of the Earth Alliance fleet, and one of the strongest ships ever built by a single species among the younger races, using only their own technology. It says down here under weapons, it has 4 520mm plasma pulse cannons, 6 laser batteries, 4 fore and 4 aft. When we look at the picture, that's the laser battery. That's the laser battery. It is clearly firing. It is clearly forward facing, which means it has 2 of these forward, 4 of them backwards. So then, when we come back to look at this, and it says it has, 6 heavy particles slash lasers. We got that. And then when we look at the Nova, because again, we're just kind of reverse engineering this, 6 particle beams. Well, this page says lasers, this says particles and lasers, this one says particles. I'm going to assume that they're all roughly the same weapon. So I'm actually going to move this down. I'm going to put it aft like this. So that's going to be our big lasers. Now, what about everything else? Well, we need to have fusion missile launchers. These will be heavy. I believe it's the same thing that we already have on... Yeah, it is the same thing that we have on the Hyperion. So we can actually take these. We're going to copy them. And we're just going to paste them here. And we'll paste these here for both of these ships. There we go. So much of this is going to be reused that we might be able to do this a lot. We'll simply paste this over. Thermonuclear torpedoes are going to be heavy nuclear missiles. We've got that now. Okay, then. What about... Well, okay, on the Nova Dreadnought at least, the only thing left, we've got the fusion missiles, we've got the particle beams. The only thing left is the twin plasma cannons, according to the tech manual. If we come here to the wiki, it just says 18 twin weapons of unknown type. Who wrote this? Alright, that means that pretty much everything else is going to be filled up with these plasma cannons. And that's fine. We can do this. Since they're all the same, I do believe it means that we're not actually going to use the turrets. Maybe we will. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Should I slap these weapons on all 4 sides plus the turrets? I'm not sure. Usually turrets are a little bit lighter. Alright. So I just have to determine what these are going to be. So twin plasma cannons. Heavy weapons. They're going to be heavy. We know they're going to be heavy. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual weapons and see what we can do. Because I think we've actually got these, I think we've got something similar on the Hyperion. And JP just says, yes. Alright, I guess we're going to porcupine the hell out of this thing. Now, for the Hyperion, the pulse discharge cannons we turned into light plasma cannons. And that's fine. The phased particle cannons are also particle beams. So as far as I know, we haven't actually used the heavy particle, or the heavy plasma cannon. So, light, 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 light. Heavy. Here we go. Heavies. Heavy plasma. Heavy plasma. Where is it? Plasma, plasma, particle. Heavy plasma cannon. Here we go. A heavy plasma cannon is a really simple weapon. It just does 5d12 damage at medium range. Well, I think that's going to work well for us. Medium range, which means that, like, this is not going to be a sniper of any kind. Although the particle beams might extend that range, but remember, it's also a carrier. It's going to carry 36 Star Furies. That's 3 wings. It doesn't have to be able to shoot that far necessarily when it has 3 wings of interceptors that can reach that far for it. That's what carriers do. They reach. And let's see, JP says as long as it doesn't increase the tier. Well, it's not going to increase the tier any higher than it would normally be, I don't think. Obviously, if we put less things on it, it'll lower the tier. But I believe the Nova and the Omega are going to be roughly the same tier regardless. It's not really going to matter what I do. So, plasma cannons, I think it's going to be it. So, first off, let's go ahead and make a note down here. We're going to make a note real quick. Not there. The twin plasma cannons. Okay. So, twin plasma cannons is going to equal a heavy plasma cannon. That was it, right? Starship weapons, plasma, yeah. Plasma cannon, we got it. Alright, and this is basically just going to be copy and paste. Oh, actually, hold on, let me just copy this entire thing. Format painter. Wait, did I do that wrong? No, I didn't do that wrong. Okay, perfect. Alright, so now I need to make one and then just copy it over and over and over again. So I need twin plasma cannon. And then we need the stats from the actual plasma cannon, which is going to be medium 5d12, medium 5d12, and that's it. There's nothing else to it. Except for one thing, that is, it's going to cost us 30 PCU and 20 build points. Copy and paste and paste. And paste and paste. And then aft is going to be more of them. Okay, I can format painter this somewhere else. I will just grab this. And there we go. That should give me all my Alright, it's not perfect. Whatever. Close enough. Alright, so there we go. Now I need my capital weapons. Also, I need to get my heavy nukes. Since we're in heavy already, Heavy nuclear missile launcher, 10d8, right? Yes. Okay. What's the PCU and build points on that? 10 and 14. And 14. There we go. I also forgot that technically those nuclear missiles do have irradiate. Technically this should be tracking 10. And then irradiate medium, limit 5. Oops, wrong place. There we go. Fixed. And we'll fix it on these as well. Now. Apparently I'm missing a gun here. There we go. This is going to be a very, very expensive ship, okay? Not going to lie. This is going to require a high level. But it should. Alright, capital weapon. We know it's got to be a laser. So we just got to find the capital laser. Super plasma cannon, super X cannon, super laser. Here we go. And, I mean, it's pretty simple. Let's make sure that we have our terms right. So if we come back here, it's going to be a particle beam gun. So it's going to be a particle beam gun equals super capital super laser. And I have to do that. Like, there is a particle beam. Super stasis beam, super plasma cannon. At least I think there's a capital particle beam. Yeah, particle beam cannon. But it does, like, explicitly say laser on some of them. I don't know which to use. I just go with the cheaper one. The particle beam cannon is 30 and 30. The super laser is 20 and 20. I'm going to go with the laser. The reason I'm going to go with the laser is because the tier of this thing is going to be high enough as it is. I'm going to trim a little bit here. I'm going to trim. Just because I want to knock down, even if it's just another 20 build points, I'm at least going to do something. Particle beam gun. This is going to be long at 2d4 times 10. There's nothing else special about it. And, oh, JP says, all right, it's brunch time. See you later. Get me some eggs. I'm really digging eggs right now. So bring me back some eggs. Otherwise, I mean, I guess just enjoy your brunch. Hopefully I'll see you back here next week. So you take care. Alright, so we got a particle beam gun. We'll slap this down here. And we'll take a look at how that makes us look. So let's look at this thing. We have medium range coverage around the entire ship. What does that mean for us? That means that, remember we were talking about the Star Furies coming in and just shredding these ships. Okay, the fact of the matter is that they don't have a lot of point defense, and point defense doesn't really protect against interceptors anyway. Point defense only gives you a reaction shot against incoming tracking weapons. It does mean, however, that since the Star Furies they're short range, they are going to have to get through all of this plasma cannon fire just to get close enough to the ship to do some damage. This is going to be the natural counterpoint. Do the Star Furies outnumber the capital ship? Yes, they do. By a large margin. Literally by dozens to one. The capital ship has overwhelming firepower. And so one ship should be able to screen out the majority of the Star Furies getting close. That, however, is entirely dependent on whether or not, they can actually hit them. The Star Furies are going to be much harder to hit. They're going to have a much higher armor class. And if the Star Furies get in close, they will be able to absolutely just shred the other ship, because the other ship is going to have essentially no armor class, just armor. Now, we also still have to add the hangars. I'm just going to go with hangar times 5. Again, that's going to give us space for 40, which is 4 more than we need, but a little extra space, like I said, not going to hurt us. So we're going to come to the expansion base again. How much does a hangar set me back? It is 30 PCU and 10 build points. 5 times 30 is 150. 10 times 50 is 50, or 10 times 5 is 50. All right, so that's going to cost us that. Now, I think we're in a good position now. Oh, I still need thrusters. Still need thrusters. Our ship can't move yet. Thrusters. It's a gargantuan, so we need to come to the G's. We only have 3 options: G4, G6, and G8. The only one that comes with no bonus is the G8 thruster, and so that's what we're going to do. So G8 thruster pilot bonus is a +0, and this actually works out really well for us when we look at the Hyperion. One of the most important things if you have a flotilla is making sure that everybody stays in a formation, that everyone is in... what's the word I'm looking for? Coherence? Something like that? Do we have this? Yes, we do. The Olympus class is a large ship, however, it moves at 8. The Hyperion is a huge cruiser. It moves at 8. And the Nova and the Omega are both gargantuan ships, and they both move at 8. Which means they're going to be able to stay within formation. Is it the most important detail? No, but it is an important detail. Now, these thrusters are 240 power units. And 16 build points. Alright, time for us to start calculating here. Let's go ahead and put that right there too. The carrier frame, how much was that? Base frames, I didn't write that down. Heavy hauler, bulk freighter, cruiser, super tanker, carrier. It is 100 build points. And down here, the basic computer is free. I believe the budget long sensors cost like 6, if I remember. Sensors. Wait, not budget long. No, I did put budget long in there. That's because basic actually does give a bonus. Okay, so budget long is just going to be 6. Yes. All right, time for us to do some math. This is going to be absolutely ludicrous. All right, I guess we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. 150 plus 430s is 120. Plus 330s is 90. Plus 20 for the particle beam gun. For starboard, 30, 30, 30, and 10 is 100. Port should be the same. 30, 30, 30, and 10 is 100. Forward is going to be 30, 30, 30, and 20. That's 110. And then the thrusters are 240. That together is 930 PCU. Remember what I said about not being able to fire everything at once because it might brown out the system? 930 PCU right now. If we were to go back and look at power cores, the highest level power core that we can get is the Titan Ultra, and it is reserved for super colossal frames. The biggest for a gargantuan frame is the Gateway Ultra at 500, which means we need 2 of these things. And that's not a problem. It says right here the power plant for the Nova class Dreadnought is 4 fusion reactors. So it kind of makes me wonder, if we needed 4 fusion reactors, and we need 930, 1,000 divided by 4 is 250. What if we were to do this? Power core housing times 3. Okay, power core housing times 3. Now I've got my alt tabs mixed up now. Let's see. If we come back up here to expansion bays, a power core housing should be relatively cheap, I think. Power core housing is just 10 more build points. What's 10 more build points among friends? That's 30 more. Okay. We're going to need power cores that cost us about 250, or give us about 250. And we need them for a gargantuan ship. It looks to me like we can't get it. The smallest core for a gargantuan is the Gateway Light. Period. That's the smallest we can go, and that's 300. 300 times 3 isn't going to do it, so we're going to need to have 4 of them. Okay. Okay, that's how we'll do it then. That's how we'll have to do it. So, Gateway Light times 4. Each one of them is going to give us 300, so that's going to be 1,200. Each one of them costs 30. 30 times 4 is going to be 120. Okay, so we've got our power problem fixed. Now, how many build points is it? Because this is going to be where things get really ugly. Starting from the top, 100 for the carrier, 16 for the thrusters. 120 for the power cores. And then for, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to be 140. Build points for weapons plus 14 for the missile. 20, 40, 60. Plus 14 for the missile. Plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is going to be 160. For the rest of the weapons. Scrolling down. Does the basic computer have a cost? I don't think it does. Let's just make sure. Basic computer is free. That's what I thought. Plus 6 for the sensors. Plus 50 for the hangars. Plus 30 for the additional power core housings. Equals 710. I don't think that this is even really pilotable. Which is fair. No, it absolutely is. 710 makes this a tier 17. It is a tier 17 ship. With a manufacturing cost of 710,000 credits. That is crazy. But okay. It's okay. So that's the Nova. And the Nova looks truly terrifying. Not gonna lie. Not the kind of thing that you want to go up against. Especially as a tier 17. Yeah, you see one of these things show up, you're afraid. It also explains why, because the Omega is probably going to be in a similar position. When Babylon 5 saw Omega-class carriers show up, they were even sweating it, because Babylon 5 is a level 20 station, period. There's no way around that, there's no denying that, it's just straight up level 20. A level 20 surrounded by level 17s is a dead level 20. That's true in almost every game. Babylon 5 is a very, very powerful station. It's also a very limited station. It is not meant for combat. It is meant for self-defense in a desperate situation. But okay, let's go ahead and get to the actual Omega then. This should go much faster. For example, the capital weapon is going to be the same. And I'll fix the lines and everything later. The capital weapon is going to be the same, and we'll be able to just copy and paste this over. And it's going to cost us 20 and 20. Aft is also going to be the particle beam gun. Now, going back to look at the Omega class. So it has 6 heavy particle lasers. I actually might double this up on the aft. So it says that the Omega class has 6 particle beam, or 6 heavy particle and lasers. So 2 forward, 4 back. I can reduce that to 1 forward and 2 back. Easily enough. Fusion missile launchers. I've already got them added. That means that we have a total of now just the particle lasers and heavy pulse cannons, 12 particle lasers, and 12 pulse cannons remaining. we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? Yeah, 15 spaces left for these 3 categories. And there are 6, 12, and 12. 6, 12, and 12 is going to come out to 30. 30 weapons total. I have 15 slots. If I reduce these all to their lowest numbers, because both of them are divisible by 5. Well, no, that doesn't really work. Actually, this is really easy. I'm overthinking this. 15 means that I could put 3 of each, or... You know, it doesn't matter. Point is, I did the math. Somehow in my head, I can have 3 heavy pulse cannons and 6 particle lasers and pulse cannons. All I gotta do is just divide them by half. It works. It works out. So, heavy pulse cannons. Do I have those already? I think I might. Light plasma cannons. I've got plasma pulse cannons on the Hyperion. Pulse discharge cannons. Phase particle cannons, but I don't really have a heavy pulse cannon. Unless we want to assume that the pulse discharge cannon is the same thing. So yeah, 52 millimeter pulse plasma cannon is a heavy laser net. And I've got those on the turret. So 3 of those. I need 3 of those. And I can just change the names of these. I need 3 of those, and I need them... I could put them all in the turret. And that would leave me with... trying to fit everything else in. If I put 1 in each... I could put 1 forward, 1 port, and 1 starboard, and that would leave me with 2 spaces left in each side. I think I'll do that. Okay, 1 there. 1 there. And 1 there. Okay? That should work out well. That should work out pretty well. And then I just need to change the name a little bit. So instead of it being that, it's just going to be heavy pulse cannons. Heavy pulse cannon and heavy pulse cannon. There we go. Same weapon, slightly different name, slightly different function, but otherwise it's fine. And then down here, I will just put down heavy pulse cannon equals heavy laser net. 12 particle lasers and 12 pulse cannons. Well, the pulse cannons, I mean, sounds like it's basically the same thing, so that's going to be the light laser nets. And we've got 6 of these now, so... Well, 6 each. So that's 12, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right. So I need to figure out a way to make these work. I think what I'll do is this. I'm going to put these on the turret. Just because I like a little bit of symmetry. So here we go. These are just going to be the pulse cannons. There we go. We got the pulse cannons and the 12 particle lasers. Well, if the big ones are the heavy particle lasers, these are got to be the smaller ones. And if the heavy particle lasers are just going to be the super laser capital weapon, it stands to reason that the regular particle lasers are just going to be heavy lasers, and we have those. So we'll look at weapons again. We'll go down to heavies. And heavies are going to be, let's see, where is it? Heavy laser? Heavy laser ray. Heavy laser cannon. Here we go. Again, it's medium, 4d8, 10, 15. Okay, I like this. This is good. So I'm going to... I need to rename the capital weapon a little bit. It's going to be a heavy particle. Nope, not that one. It's going to be a heavy... I'm just going to say heavy laser, actually. No, not heavy laser net. Heavy laser. Period. There. And I'll paste this down here. So that's the heavy laser. And then the rest of these will just be lasers. Period. So I'll come down here, we'll do our definition first. So laser is going to equal heavy laser cannon. There we go. And now I just need to write one of these in. It's going to be medium and 4d8. And there's nothing special about it. It's just a laser. So the heavy laser cannon costs 10 and 15. And I'm just going to copy and paste this thing into the last empty spots we got. Now, let me just pull the information on the laser net. So heavy laser net is 15 and 15. Do I need to rename these? Checking the sheet again. Heavy pulse cannons. Yeah. I gotta rename these. No, already renamed them. Never mind. They're good. Heavy pulse cannon is already renamed as the heavy laser net. The regular pulse cannon equals laser net. There we go. And the regular laser net, if I come all the way back up to the top, Laser net is 10 and 9. There we go. So I've got those all filled in. Computers free. The budget long is going to be 6. We've got that. The hangars, we need to have 5 of them again. It's going to be 150 and 50. Oh, the thermonuclear missiles. I didn't fill these in. Fortunately, these don't change. They don't even change in name. There we go. So, is there anything else that we need? We've got all the weapons filled in. This thing is bristling, although not nearly as well armed as the other one. This thing actually does have more light weapons on it, which does make it feel a little bit more carrier-y than the Nova, which is described as a battleship. Which is fair. Alright, so I think we're ready to go ahead and start calculating the power usage. So we'll start at the top with the insanely expensive engines. 240 just for the thrusters alone. And then 2015 is 35, 45, 55. For the forward weapons, port 15, 25, 35, 45. Starboard 15, 25, 35, 45, same as the other side. Aft 20, 40, 50, 60. Turret is 10 times 4, 40. And then 150 for the hangar. Brings the power need, or the power requirement, up to 635. So PCU is going to be 635 currently. Now, according to the data sheet, it also has 4 fusion reactors. However, with a much lower power requirement, we might be able to skirt that. Let's see what the better option is. Let's see. So 635, we're going to need 650 to 700. And there is no 700 that we're going to get, so we're going to have to get multiples anyway. In that case, if we were to divide this down, the best we can do is the Gateway Light. No, the Gateway Heavy. If we get 2 Gateway Heavies, that'll push us up to 800 power units. With 2 of them. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do Gateway Heavy times 2 for 800. And each one of these is 40. So that'll be 80. We will need one more power, or one additional power core housing. And that's just going to be 10. All right, I think we're ready to calculate this one. Weirdly, the Omega, I think, is actually going to be less than the Nova. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but let's find out. So 100 for the frame, 16 for the thrusters, 80 for the power cores. Now, forward weapons, 20, 35, 50, 65. Port side weapons, 15 times 3 is 45, plus 14 is going to be 59. Starboard will be the same. aft, 20 and 20 is 40, 15 and 15 is 30, 30 plus 40 is 70. And on the turret, 9 times 4 is 36. Then we need 6 for the sensors, 50 for the hangars, and 10 for the power core housing. Which means that the Omega class is only 551. That is significantly cheaper than the Nova. And by significantly cheaper, I mean to say that we are actually dropping down a whole 2 tiers. No, 1 tier. We're dropping down 1 tier. It's tier 16. So it's a little bit easier. Not by much, though. And actually, no, I did this wrong. The Nova class is a tier 18. 710 means you need to have 700 or less. That's your cap. So there is still a 2-tier difference between them. But there we go. Now, the one thing that I have not put into both of them is the HP increase that they deserve. And both of them are going to get 4 HP increases. But they're both going to have the same HP, so it works. The HP increase is 30. Well, they get it 4 times, so that's 120. Going to push them both up to 360 HP each. So let's compare that to the Hyperion then, because we've got it on the same screen. The Omega is a tier 16, the Nova is a tier 18, the Hyperion is a tier 10. Almost half. Which I think is actually really fitting, because, again, the Hyperion is just an escort for the other two. And as such, by default, having about 2/3 of the HP, I think that works out really well. I think everything is looking really well balanced. Okay then, so with that done, the next question is what do we do now, because I've still got some time left, but I don't think I have enough time to get another ship done. But you know what? I'm going to look at it anyway. I'm going to look at it anyway. We're going to look at the Warlock class, because I want to. Now, the Warlock class is not one that we really saw. Okay, we didn't really see this one in the show because it didn't exist in the show. The Warlock class showed up, I believe, in one of the later movies. And I think we got a few peeks at it. Actually, no, I think we only really saw it in the Legend of the Rangers movie. Could be wrong. Let's find out. Warlock class destroyer is an advanced warship designed and produced by the Earth Alliance. We know that. Rushed into production immediately after the Earth Alliance Civil War, the Warlock destroyer incorporates some of the most advanced technology available. It was the first Earth Alliance ship to feature artificial gravity without rotating sections. Thanks to the technology the Minbari delivered, this allowed designers to greatly improve the Warlock's design. Among these improvements was the Warlock having greater speed and maneuverability compared to the older Omega-class destroyers. In addition to human technology, an unknown shadow device is buried somewhere in the Warlock's control systems. Not sure if I can give this to my players. The exact purpose and function of the device is unclear, though the only vessel known to have overridden its influence was the EAS Titans under the command of Susan Ivanova. The Warlock's propulsion, don't really care too much about that, or the weapons. Let's see, it was in A Call to Arms and Voices in the Dark. That's it. So, yeah, we've only really seen it twice. It was mentioned in a single episode, and it was seen a couple of times in Crusades. That's all we got. That's on the wiki. If we look at the tech manual, what does it say about the Warlock? It's a heavy destroyer, roughly 2 kilometers long, has a crew of 1,200. Let's go ahead and write that down. A crew of 1,200. It has 42 Star Fury Lightcraft. Well, that is just an awkward number. Seriously, they fly in wings of 12. Why do you have 42? I mean, I guess you have a couple extra. We'll probably just copy the same thing that we did for the Omega and just give them 4 hangars, because that way you get 12 wings. Or 3 wings, excuse me. 6 fusion reactors, 4 standard and 2 advanced. That doesn't really mean anything to us, though. However, armaments. Oh my goodness. 12 large missile silos, 16 small missile silos, 12 heavy particle beam cannons, 9 heavy pulse cannon turrets, 3 heavy railgun turrets, 4 medium pulse cannon turrets, 9 light plasma cannon turrets, 16 short-range phased plasma turrets, and any number of various small caliber energy and projective anti-air emplacements. I can't even begin to translate that. If I were to break this down, it's got lots of missiles. It's primarily a missile carrier. 2 heavy particle beam cannons. Looking at this thing, it looks like it's all directed forward. Like, there's almost nothing on pointing backwards except for possible turrets. Which is fair. I mean, we did see that on the battleship. If we look at the base frames, the battleship has forward mounts, port mounts, starboard mounts, and... oh, it does have 1 aft, and then turrets. The carrier just has forward, port, starboard, and turrets. The dreadnought has forward, port, starboard, and turrets. Not having any weapons pointed backwards is kind of a feature. So we might want to do that. Coming back to this, we have particle beams, pulse cannons, railguns, more pulse cannons, so we could just roll those in together. It has 9 heavy and 4 medium, sure. It has heavy pulse cannon turrets and light pulse cannon turrets. We can phase those in together. Short range phase plasma turrets. What do I do with those? Here's what I'm thinking for this one. We have missiles. We have particle beams, we have pulse cannons, and we have railguns. That's 4 weapon types. Well, I can have a maximum of 4 weapons per facing. What if I were to put 1 missile and 1 particle and 1 pulse and 1 railgun on each side, or at least on the first 3 sides, and then I can have a turret with point defense? I mean, I really think that works. If we were going to come down here and look at this, what if I simply went forward on all these? I'll highlight these in green. We'll skip the aft and just do the turret. And then, what if we did this? capital railgun. And then we need a particle beam. Because I do believe I have a capital railgun. Do I have a capital railgun? Base frames. Let me go into weapons. Because the Dreadnought actually does allow me to go ahead and just put capital weapons on the sides. Okay, capital weapons. Gravity cannon, mass driver. The mass driver might be my railgun, actually. Let's see. Particle beam cannon, persistent particle beam cannon, super EMP, super... Might be the mass driver, actually. Now, see, the weird thing is, like, mass driver has a very, very specific meaning when it comes to Babylon 5. There are ships that have what are called mass drivers, and the idea is this. They don't actually shoot things. A mass driver is literally a weapon that simply drives mass. It's usually a thruster that you would put on, say, an asteroid, drag the asteroid with you, and then direct the asteroid at a target. And in universe, it is considered to be basically a war crime. Or a crime against humanity. I mean, imagine the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. Okay, imagine that, except somebody with a starship has grabbed 10 of them and is intentionally throwing them at your planet. That's the idea of a mass driver in Babylon 5. So, we have a railgun in heavy weapons. It's long range. It does 8d4 damage, 20 and 15. If I look at the mass driver down here, it's long range, 2d6, but then there's nothing special about it. I think the mass driver is going to be the way we're going to go. So, yeah, capital railgun. We'll come down here to the notes, and I'm just going to say railgun equals mass driver. Now, the next one on the list, the heavy particle beam cannons. Since we already have one capital weapon, I'm just going to say heavy particle beam. The pulse cannons, those are plasma weapons, so we're going to need a heavy plasma cannon. And then, of course, we have the missile racks. It doesn't say that they're nuclear, but every single other ship has had nuclear. I'm going to make an assumption that these are going to be heavy nuclear missiles. And we're simply going to copy and paste this all the way over there, and then down here, I'm going to say heavy point defense. Okay, not what I wanted to do. There we go. Okay, heavy point defense. And I don't have time to really fill this in right now, but I think that's a really, really good start. We can lay out some of the groundwork here. The size is going to be colossal. The frame will be a dreadnought. The maneuverability for a dreadnought? I don't know. We'll find out, though. It is clumsy. That's a -2. with a turn rate of 4. So it don't turn worth a damn. But it's okay. Because, let's be honest, it almost doesn't need to. Actually, this one does need to, because without having the weapons aft... It's only got the turrets are protected from behind, and the turrets aren't going to protect too much. Still, though, means it's got an 8 armor class and an 8 target lock. The damage threshold on it, however, is 15. So even if you do shoot it from behind, good luck. And the critical threshold is 80. You will almost never crit this thing through damage alone. It has 400 hit points, so good luck. And technically, I'm going to copy over these. Technically speaking, though, it has 20 expansion bays, and that actually means that we can we can fit the hangars. Legitimately, this time. It would take literally every expansion bay we had, but we can fit them. So, that's a good start. There's still more work to be done on it, but I knew we didn't have time. So, when we come back here next time, we will pick up where we left off with the Warlock class. It's mostly just going to be a matter of filling in these. We already know what we're going to use for them. We have the names. I just need to put down the notes down here. I already did the railgun, so that's easy. I may fill these in between the streams, so that when we come back in, we'll just be able to fill everything in and then do our calculations. That's it. That's all we got to do. So, if you want to see that, make sure that you come back here next time for that stream. I'm enjoying this. I'm loving figuring out these ships. It might not be the most interesting thing to do, but I'm enjoying it, so hopefully you are too. And if you are, and you haven't subscribed already, then do that. Hit the subscribe button. There's a little bell icon right next to it. Go ahead and hit that too. That'll let you know when these streams come out. If you know somebody else who's also into Babylon 5 or Starfinder, then share this video with them. Otherwise, though, if you just like me like what I'm doing, leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below. If you leave a comment down below, though, might I suggest that you just go join me on the Discord. We have one. Come play with us. We have a game running currently. It's Star Trek. It is so much fun. My players want to go become bounty hunters in Star Trek. Yes, that's a thing that we can do now. So if you want to come play with us, join the Discord, go to the Behind the Screens channel. Let me know what games you want to play, when you want to play them, what your availability is. Once I have a group together, we'll start playing. So, I hope to see you there. I hope to see you back here next time for more Babylon 5. And until then, take care.